My first boyfriend was everything I thought I needed. Love, adventure, and a taste of freedom. But little did I know it was also going to be my first heartbreak. My name's James, and this is my story. After being forced out as gay, which you can watch on my channel, I ended up meeting a guy. I can't quite remember how we met, but we hit things off and things moved quickly. Of course, me being me. I wanted to spend as much time as I could with him. But because of work and not having a driving license yet, it made it really difficult to see each other, as you can imagine. Of course, things escalated quickly and we became boyfriends. That appeared to be what everyone wanted in life, just somebody to love and be loved in return. Speaking of not having our driving license yet, I had just started driving lessons. I think I was about 17. This was a great little opportunity for me. Despite being filled with anxiety and not having any idea of what I was doing in the car, when I started to get a little bit more confident and the drive that I had to want to see my boyfriend, I asked the driving instructor if it would be okay if we used my lessons to drive from my house to his house, which was about 30 minutes away, and I practiced my reverse parking and everything along the way. And once we got there, he could use the remaining time that I had left of my lesson to drive back into town for his next one. And that way I would get transport from my house to my boyfriend's house and I'll be able to see him. And I did this 2 or 3 times a week, my lessons, until my driving test. It was kind of crazy that he was okay with doing that, but also that he was down to do it, because that was such a weird thing, a weird request, I'm sure. He probably never had that ever again. But I really wanted to be with my boyfriend and this was a great way to get there. Of course, I eventually passed my driving test and I was able to go over there whenever I wanted. It wasn't an issue anymore, which is great. So our relationship is going great. We are able to experience all these new things together. Bear in mind, he's my first boyfriend. I'm his first boyfriend. We're exploring things, as you can imagine, but also exploring emotions and feelings and all of these crazy things that you experience the first time that you fall in love. However, about 6 months in, we had a huge argument and I can't even remember what it was about. It caused him to break up with me. I was devastated. Oh my gosh, my whole world had just shattered. Everything was crumbling away. I didn't know how to function. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, I couldn't breathe. Oh my gosh, it was the worst thing. What happened next was even worse. Whilst we were together, we had promised to do something and it involved a car. But I'm going to leave that there and we're going to come back to that a little bit later in the story. My heart was literally shattered and I would have done anything to get him back. It's so funny what we would do when we were young for love. I'm so naive. And we've been apart for about a month now. You see, where I grew up, there was no real designated gay areas or gay clubs and bars, so everyone went out to straight clubs. And the area I lived was pretty volatile. There were fights that broke out all throughout the night, literally just walking out the club and there would be another person fighting another guy or something, and it was just chaos. We didn't know any different. That's just where we grew up and how it was, so we just went out and enjoyed it. I heard that one night he was going out with his friend, and I was going out that night with my friend. And of course I wanted to bump into him, which I told my friend, but she didn't think it was such a good idea, so we stayed where we were partying, doing our thing. And I knew where he was in a different club down the way, which of course was driving me crazy. I couldn't shake it from my mind that he was just literally 5-minute walk away, and it was driving me so crazy. I just wanted to see him and see if we could resolve our issues. I would have done anything to have him back. I guess I was addicted to him and I couldn't just let this opportunity pass me by. I remember saying to myself, this is my last attempt. If we get back together, great. If we don't, then I really need to deal with this and move on from this relationship. But my God, did I want it to work. About 30 minutes before the clubs were closing, I told my friend, hey, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go and see him and see what happens. She was like, all right, you do you, whatever you got to do. So I rushed across the street to this club 30 minutes before it closed. And I get through the doors, run up the stairs, and it's just this big dance floor. There's a huge cloud of haze from the fog machines that have been going, music thumping, everyone's an absolute mess, and guys with their girlfriends. It was just whatever, 3 o'clock in the morning in a club. So I ran around the club looking for him. I was looking on the dance floor, I was looking in the booths and the bar, everywhere. Could I see him? No. I'm like, maybe he's not here. Maybe he's gone home already. I've missed my chance. Like, it's game over. Am I ever going to get to see him again? That is what was going through my head. Is this it? Am I never going to get that chance? So they start playing the end of the night song, which is always a slow song, and it's like a mood, and it's just before they kick everyone out. Everyone knows what it means. It's just like a tradition, I guess, in the town that these songs play. They're from the like 80s, I think. As the song starts, I see him and I run over to him and I tell him, you know, I miss you. I want to be with you. I'll do anything for you. Like, I don't want to lose you out of my life. Like, what can I do? One thing leads to another. We talk a little bit and he ends up kissing me in the middle of this club, and we go into the middle of the dance floor and we begin to slow dance in front of everyone. Bear in mind, this is in the early 2000s and everyone is extremely straight, extremely not the most accepting, and we're just like, screw it, like, we're just having our moment. So we're slow dancing on the dance floor for like a minute, and oh my god, my heart was so full and warm, and oh my gosh, like everything that you wanted it to be, it was. And the lights came on and everyone started to clear out, and it was just chaos getting out of the club, but me and him just stayed on that dance floor slow dancing away. Everyone was looking at us like, what is going on here? What do we do? How do we feel about this? Everyone just cleared out. We were one of the last to leave the club because we didn't want that moment to end. We headed home together and I felt so good. I felt like everything was back on track. And of course, when you get that feeling, you just don't want it to end. So yeah, that was that. But it takes a little bit of a turn. After a week of dating, back together, boyfriends, whatever, he sits me down and he's like, hey, I need to tell you something. Of course, my heart drops out of my chest, but I'm trying to hold it together, right? Like, how bad can it be? It's only been a week. Like, we haven't seen signs of us breaking up or anything. Like, I don't know what to feel, and my insecurities were going crazy. And he sits down with me and he's like, I need to talk about what happened while we weren't together. And I was like, okay, sure, like, where's this gonna go? He said that, remember that thing that we promised to each other in the car that we were gonna wait for each other for? Yeah, like, I remember that. He said that he had done it while we were broken up. He did it the week we broke up. And of course, I was devastated. Like, my heart fell and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know why it was such a big deal. Like, looking back on it, like, I don't know why it was such a big deal, but it felt like my world like just crashed because it was such a milestone thing in life that I really wanted to experience with him because of he was my everything. Man, did that hurt, right? But it gets worse. And I was like, okay, so what, who with, like, how, what happened? Like, you know, tell me. So he keeps telling me the story, and it turns out that the person that he did it with was the guy that had forced me out as being gay to my friends, which, if you've seen my forced out video, like, yeah, that was a pretty crazy story. And that was him. And it just felt so wrong that the person that took away that milestone of coming out to me actually took away this milestone with my boyfriend. And it just felt like he was just constantly like there, like taking all these things that were meant to be such pivotal moments in my mind and my experience as being a human, and he just kept taking it from me. And we dated for a few more months, and of course things were good. We got to experience our relationship, but like all good things, especially at that age, it came to an end. It was brutal. I was not okay. I did not deal with it very well. It took me a very long time to get over it. I was young and naive. There were plenty more times afterwards that came, but the first time that you experience that heartache, the first time that you experience a breakup, like, it's so brutal because you don't know what to do with your emotions. You don't know what to do with yourself, your time. I remember, because I grew up in England, it was freezing cold. It was winter. Oh my God, this is a crazy part of the story. It was winter and it was so cold. I sat outside in the garden in just my underwear, listening to a song on repeat on an MP3 player because, yes, I'm that old. And I just cried and cried and cried for hours. Freezing cold, like, I didn't want to be inside. I just wanted to really, oh my God, I just made myself suffer basically. And looking back on it now, I don't know if I would have made any changes because it taught me so much about life, about relationships, about love. And looking back at it now, that relationship taught me so much. Despite how painful it was and how good things were and everything like that, it taught me you've got to really not lose yourself in relationships. It's so easy to lose yourself for some people. Like for me, I can lose myself so fast, and it's so hard for me to find myself in my relationships. I've been married for 5 years and now I've found myself, and I'm able to make my YouTube videos. I'm able to do my photography and work on We Are Dark. I'm able to do all these things, but it's taken me so long to get to a headspace where my relationship isn't my entire world and I'm able to experience other things. Because for me, as a person, I tend to lose myself real fast, and I've really got to figure out how to find myself. And some people are the opposite. Some people are unable to make a commitment to a person or attach to people, and that's perfectly fine. Everyone's got their own style. But for me, it's really hard to find myself when I am so enveloped in somebody else. And if you're heartbroken right now and you're really struggling and you're in turmoil trying to figure out how to move on, it's okay. This is just the end of a chapter. It's not the end of the book. You're going to have more experiences. You might experience heartbreak again, but at least you'll know how to manage it better because you've already lived through it once. You know that there's might be someone else out there around the corner and you just don't know when you're going to bump into them. It's so crazy how it all works. And as always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. And I hope you have a great night. And remember, keep your heart open because there's always more to experience. All right, see you later, guys.